The moment 32-year-old Marcus Johnson walked onto the voice stage, something felt different. Not because of his appearance, though his tall frame and confident posture were striking under the bright studio lights, but because of the weight he carried, an invisible burden that seemed to press down on his shoulders with every step. He moved slowly, deliberately, as if each movement required conscious effort, as if the simple act of being there took every ounce of strength he possessed. What nobody in that studio knew was that Marcus wasn't supposed to be there alone. And what was about to happen would prove that some dreams are so powerful they transcend even death itself. Hidden in the shadows backstage, the voice production team had prepared something that would either heal Marcus's broken heart or shatter it completely. They had no way of knowing which way it would go, but they knew that sometimes the most powerful moments in television happen when raw human emotion meets unexpected grace. Let me take you back to understand how Marcus got to this moment, because his journey to the voice stage was paved with loss so profound it had nearly destroyed him. Marcus Johnson had a mother named Patricia. She wasn't just his parent, she was his champion, his biggest supporter, his reminder that dreams were worth pursuing no matter how impossible they seemed. Patricia had raised Marcus as a single mother in Detroit, working 3 jobs to make ends meet while never letting him see how exhausted she was, how much she sacrificed to give him opportunities she'd never had. Music had been their shared escape since Marcus's childhood. Growing up in a neighborhood where hope was scarce and opportunities were scarcer, Patricia had saved every penny she could to pay for Marcus's piano lessons, his guitar lessons, anything that would nurture the obvious talent she saw in her son. She worked as a house cleaner during the day, stocked shelves at a grocery store in the evenings, and cleaned office buildings at night, all so Marcus could have what she called his shot at something better. "Music is your ticket out of here, baby," Patricia would tell Marcus when he practiced in their small apartment, her voice filled with the kind of unwavering faith that only mothers possess. "God gave you that voice for a reason. Don't you waste it." By the time Marcus was in high school, he was performing at every local venue that would have him: church services, community centers, small clubs that overlooked his age, because his talent was undeniable. Patricia was at every single performance, sometimes still wearing her work uniform because she'd rushed straight from her night job to watch her son sing. She was his biggest fan, his loudest cheerleader, his constant reminder that he was destined for something greater than their circumstances. The Johnson sound, as Patricia called it, had dreams bigger than Detroit could contain. Marcus had been planning to move to Nashville after graduation, to audition for record labels, to chase the country music dream that Patricia had convinced him was achievable. She had been saving money for months to help fund his move, working extra shifts and skipping meals to put aside whatever she could for her son's future. But Patricia had also been hiding something from Marcus. For months, she had been feeling tired in ways that extra shifts couldn't explain, experiencing pain that she attributed to the physical demands of her work. When she finally went to the doctor, only because Marcus had insisted after noticing how much weight she'd lost, the diagnosis was devastating: stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had already spread throughout her body. "How long do I have?" Patricia had asked the doctor, her main concern not for herself but for how much time she had left to see Marcus succeed. 3 to 6 months, maybe less, the doctor had replied gently. Patricia had made Marcus promise her something during those final months. As she grew weaker and the treatments proved ineffective, as their roles reversed and Marcus became her caregiver, while trying to finish high school, she made him swear that he wouldn't give up on his music career because of her illness. "Baby, this cancer is going to take me, but it's not going to take your dreams," Patricia had whispered during one of their last coherent conversations, her voice weak but her determination unwavering. "Promise me you'll still go to Nashville. Promise me you'll audition for The Voice like we always talked about. Promise me you'll show the world what all those years of sacrifice were for." Marcus had wanted to refuse, to tell her that music didn't matter without her there to share his success, that The Voice was their dream and he couldn't pursue it alone. But Patricia had been insistent with the kind of maternal authority that even terminal illness couldn't diminish. "Marcus," Everything I ever did was to give you this chance. If you don't take it, if you don't at least try, then all those years of working 3 jobs, all those nights I went without sleep, all those times I went hungry so you could have music lessons, it all means nothing." Patricia had died on a quiet Tuesday morning in September, at home in the bed where Marcus had been reading to her from the Bible she'd kept since childhood. Her last words had been, "Sing for me, baby, sing and show them what Patricia Johnson's son sounds like." For months after her death, Marcus had been unable to touch his guitar, unable to listen to music, unable to imagine a world where melody existed without Patricia's encouragement to give it meaning. Their apartment became a shrine to her sacrifices. Her work uniform still hanging in the closet, the jar where she'd saved money for his Nashville move still sitting on the kitchen counter, her presence everywhere and nowhere. The call from the voice had come exactly 6 months after Patricia's death. Marcus had submitted an audition video months earlier at Patricia's insistence, but had forgotten about it entirely in the aftermath of her illness and death. When the producer called to invite him to Los Angeles for a live audition, Marcus's first instinct was to decline. "I can't," Marcus had told the producer, his voice breaking. "My mother died. She was the reason I wanted to do this, and without her here to see it, it doesn't feel worth it anymore." But that night, Marcus had dreamed of Patricia. She was sitting in their old kitchen, wearing the church dress she'd been buried in, counting the money in her savings jar while humming one of the songs Marcus used to practice. "Marcus," Patricia said in the dream, "you think my dreams died with me, but they didn't. They live in you now. Every sacrifice I made, every extra shift I worked, every meal I skipped, it was all so you could have this moment. Don't you dare waste it." Marcus woke up with tears on his cheeks and Patricia's voice still echoing in his mind. He called the voice back and accepted the audition. Standing on the stage now, Marcus felt the crushing weight of representing not just his own hopes, but Patricia's lifetime of sacrifice. The bright lights seemed harsh without Patricia in the audience to share nervous smiles with. The stage felt enormous without her presence to make him feel like he could conquer anything as long as she believed in him. But he was here, and somehow, that felt like Patricia was here too. Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, John Legend, and Niall Horan sat in their red chairs, their backs turned, waiting to judge him solely on the merit of his voice. None of them knew his story yet, knew about the empty seat in the audience where his mother should have been sitting, knew that every note he was about to sing carried the weight of a woman's lifetime of sacrifice and unconditional love. "Whenever you're ready," Blake called out encouragingly, his voice carrying that familiar warmth that somehow reminded Marcus of the kindness Patricia had always shown to everyone she met. Marcus stepped up to the microphone, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted it. He had chosen "A Song for Mama" by Boyz II Men, a song that Patricia had always requested when Marcus practiced at home, a song that now felt like a prayer, a bridge between this world and whatever came after. He began to sing, and his voice, rich, soulful, carrying the weight of profound loss, but also profound gratitude, filled the studio with an authenticity that couldn't be manufactured. This wasn't just a performance. This was a conversation with someone who couldn't answer back. A love letter set to music, a way of honoring sacrifices that had made this moment possible. "You taught me everything, and everything you've given me, I'll always keep it inside." As Marcus reached the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The voice production team, in a moment of inspired compassion, began displaying a large screen behind the coaches, showing photos and videos of Marcus and Patricia together. Patricia at his school concerts, working late at night to pay for his lessons, beaming with pride at his high school graduation. Patricia's face filled the screen, tired but radiant, her work uniform visible in photos that captured a mother's unconditional love and endless sacrifice. Marcus saw the screen and stopped singing mid-note. The sight of his mother's face, larger than life behind the coaches, was more than his carefully constructed composure could handle. He broke down completely, falling to his knees on the stage, sobbing with the kind of grief that comes from the deepest places of loss and regret. "She worked 3 jobs for me," Marcus cried, his voice echoing through the silent studio. "She never got to rest, never got to see me succeed. She died before I could make her proud. She died before I could give her the life she deserved after everything she sacrificed for me." The studio fell into the kind of silence that happens when everyone realizes they're witnessing something sacred, something too profound for applause or commentary. This wasn't just a nervous contestant having stage fright. This was a man mourning the woman who had given him everything in the most public way possible, carrying the weight of feeling like he had failed the person who believed in him most. Blake Shelton felt something he'd never experienced in all his years of coaching. Without thinking, without consulting anyone, without following any protocol, he was out of his chair and vaulting over the barrier that separated the coaches from the stage. His cowboy boots hit the polished floor with purpose as he ran toward Marcus. "Hey, son," Blake said softly as he reached the broken man on the stage. "I'm here. Talk to me." Marcus looked up through his tears, seeing this tall country star kneeling beside him with an expression of pure compassion. "She gave up everything for my music. She worked herself to death so I could have piano lessons and guitar lessons and a chance at something better. And she died before she could see if any of it was worth it." Blake's own eyes filled with tears as he truly understood what he was witnessing. "Marcus, what's your mother's name?" "Patricia. Patricia Johnson. She was everything. She believed in me when nobody else did, including myself." Marcus's voice broke again. Blake looked up at the screen still showing Patricia's smiling face, then back at Marcus. "Marcus, I want you to look at that screen. Look at your mother's face. Does she look like someone who died thinking her sacrifices were wasted? Does she look like someone who wasn't already proud of the man she raised?" Marcus wiped his eyes and looked at the screen where Patricia's image smiled down at them. "She used to say that my voice was her reward for all the hard work. She said hearing me sing made every sacrifice worth it." Blake smiled through his own tears. "Then she already got to see if it was worth it, son. Every time you sang for her, every time you made her smile after a long day of work, every moment she got to be proud of who you were becoming, that was her seeing her dreams come true. But this is the moment no one in the studio, and no one watching at home, ever saw coming." Blake stood up and addressed the entire studio, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades understanding what real love looked like when it was expressed through sacrifice. "Ladies and gentlemen, this young man just showed us something that most people never have the courage to show. He showed us what it looks like to carry the weight of someone's sacrifice, to feel the responsibility of honoring a mother's dreams when she's not here to see them fulfilled." He turned back to Marcus, his voice gentle but strong. "Now, Marcus, I want you to get up. I want you to look at that picture of your mother, and I want you to finish her song. Not because you owe her anything, because she already got everything she wanted from you, but because the world needs to hear what Patricia Johnson's son sounds like when he sings with all the love she put in his heart." Marcus stood up slowly, wiping his face, looking at Patricia's image on the screen. "I don't know if I can make her proud enough." "Son, you already have," Blake said firmly. "Look around you." He gestured to the other coaches, who had all turned their chairs and were watching with expressions of support and deep emotion. Kelly Clarkson was crying openly. John Legend had his hand over his heart. Niall was leaning forward with the kind of attention that showed he understood something profound was happening. "And more than that," Blake continued, "your mama's here. I can feel her. Every person in this studio can feel her pride. She's not waiting to be proud of you, Marcus. She's already proud. She's been proud since the day you were born. Now sing with that knowledge. Sing knowing that Patricia Johnson's son has already made her the happiest mother in the world." Marcus walked back to the microphone, looked up at the screen where Patricia's face beamed down at him, and began to sing again. But this time, something magical happened. As Marcus sang, it was as if Patricia's voice joined his, not audibly but spiritually, emotionally, in the way that only mothers and sons, who had shared everything could connect. The song became a duet between the living and the dead, between love and loss, between sacrifice and gratitude. There is no way I can ever pay you back, but the plan is to show you that I understand. When Marcus hit the final note, his voice soaring with both grief and gratitude, the studio erupted. All four coaches hit their buttons simultaneously. But this wasn't about competition anymore. This was about honoring sacrifice, celebrating the bonds between mothers and children that transcend death, and recognizing that some performances are bigger than any television show. Blake was already walking back toward Marcus before the other chairs had finished turning. When he reached him, he pulled him into a hug that lasted longer than any embrace in voice history. "Marcus," Blake said, his voice thick with emotion, "that was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. You didn't just sing that song. You sang it with your mother. You showed everyone in this room what love looks like when it's willing to sacrifice everything for someone else's dreams." Kelly Clarkson, herself moved beyond words, spoke through her tears. "Marcus, I could feel your mother's presence in every note you sang. You honored her sacrifice, and you showed us all what it means to carry love forward even when your heart is breaking." John Legend added, "That wasn't just a performance, Marcus. That was a testament to the power of a mother's love to transcend death, to keep inspiring even when she's not physically present." Niall, clearly emotional, said simply, "Your mother was here, Marcus. We all felt her pride, and she's so happy watching her son shine." Marcus chose Team Blake, not just because Blake had been the first to help him, but because he recognized in the country star someone who understood that the best music comes from the deepest love, someone who knew that a mother's dreams don't die with her, they live on through the children she raised to chase them. Over the following weeks, Blake became more than Marcus's coach. He became his friend, his support system, and his reminder that carrying Patricia's legacy wasn't a burden, it was a gift. Blake helped Marcus understand that he wasn't trying to prove Patricia's sacrifices were worthwhile. He was celebrating that they already were. "Working with Marcus changed my perspective on everything," Blake said in an interview during the live shows. "He reminded me that the most powerful music comes from the deepest gratitude, and that sometimes the most beautiful performances are the ones that honor the people who made them possible." Marcus's journey through the competition became a masterclass in love, loss, and the power of maternal bonds to inspire greatness. His version of "Stand By You" brought the studio to its feet. His duet with Blake on "Humble and Kind" showcased his ability to channel gratitude into art that touched everyone who heard it. Each performance was a love letter to Patricia, a way of showing the world what her sacrifices had created. During the finale, Marcus performed an original song he had written for Patricia, called "3 Jobs," as he sang about a mother's love expressed through sacrifice, about working multiple shifts so dreams could stay alive, about the kind of love that gives everything and asks for nothing in return. There wasn't a dry eye in the studio. The screen behind him showed home videos of Patricia at his childhood performances, always in the front row, always beaming with pride, always believing in the son who would one day honor her memory on the biggest stage of all. Marcus won The Voice, but his real victory was already achieved. He had shown millions of viewers that a mother's love doesn't end with death, that sacrifice is honored not through guilt, but through living fully, and that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from hearts filled with gratitude for those who made dreams possible. In his victory speech, Marcus's words were clear and strong. "This is for my mama, Patricia Johnson. She worked 3 jobs so I could have one, making music. She gave me everything, and tonight I hope I gave something back. To every mother out there working extra shifts for their children's dreams, this is for you too." Blake stood behind him throughout his speech, his hand on Marcus's shoulder, tears streaming down his face, as this 32-year-old man taught the world a lesson about maternal love, sacrifice, and the power of music to honor those who make our dreams possible. Today, Marcus performs throughout the country, always with Patricia's picture displayed beside him on stage. He started a foundation for single mothers pursuing education while supporting their children's dreams, using his platform to honor the kind of sacrifice Patricia had made for him. The work uniforms Patricia wore to her 3 jobs are now framed in Marcus's home, a reminder that some dreams are made possible not by talent alone, but by the love of someone willing to sacrifice everything for another person's success. Blake Shelton learned something that night that changed his understanding of music forever. Marcus taught me that the most powerful performances aren't just about individual talent. Sometimes they're about honoring the people who made that talent possible, about carrying forward the love that shaped us, about understanding that we never really sing alone when we carry someone's sacrifice in our hearts. Because sometimes the most beautiful songs are sung by voices shaped by sacrifice. Sometimes the strongest performances come from hearts filled with gratitude. And sometimes a son singing alone can teach us all what it means to honor a mother's love so completely that her dreams become his reality, her sacrifice becomes his purpose, her memory becomes his inspiration to show the world what Patricia Johnson's boy sounds like when he sings with all the love she put in his heart. Marcus Johnson proved that the voice isn't just about individual dreams, it's about the sacrifices that make dreams possible, the love that sustains us through loss, and the understanding that when someone believes in you completely, their faith becomes part of your voice forever. His mother Patricia may not have gotten to see him win, but her presence filled every note, proving that some love is so strong it transforms sacrifice into song, and some mothers live on forever in the voices they helped create.